All right, we are live. I'm going to spend just a few seconds here making sure YouTube and all of that are talking to each other. So looks like they are. And so welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Tonight we'll be reacting to a video by a Crash Course on Religion. I think somebody mentioned who this is by. This is John Green, I believe. And it's about 7 months ago, but it's interesting. It's his question that where he asks, is atheism is a religion? And so we'll see what happens. So we'll see what happens with that. But he does have a few funny moments in this video. I've only first half will not be completely blind, but about the second half of the video I'll be about blind with it. So all right, but let's just a couple of things. There is a goal in chat at 5 super chats / memberships. I will take whatever the hat is in the poll at that time, and I will wear it for the rest of the stream, unless we reach 10, in which case I have the Holy Bunny hat in reserve. So the Holy Bunny hat is only offered on Saturdays, so that's your opportunity. So there's that. So make sure it's just my funner way of asking for money to support the channel. So there's that. Let's see, who do we have here? Blossom was early. She asked if I'd be topless, and my response is probably not. And she decided to unsubscribe. So yes, I get that. It's warm. There was a great temptation to Donald Duck the whole thing today and just wear the shirt. But the shirt's a brand new one. When I was on vacation with my family, we visited the American Football Hall of Fame, and I had to pick up my team's 17 current inductees to the Hall of Fame. The Detroit Lions have a tendency to produce great players, but not great teams. So there you go. Let's see, who else is here? Fred's here. Martin's here. Anne Marie is here. Hey, Earl's here. Yes, hit the budget. There we go. So we got Martin. All right. Oh, and Earl, I'm trying your pain relief method tonight, and so far, so good. I don't feel a thing. So, feeling a lot better. So, pain management when you got teeth issues is always a big thing for me. So, it is definitely working on. Nope, no black shirt today. I think on Saturdays I'll wear something different. I wear black the rest of the week. Mourning for my lost youth due to Christianity. So I'm starting to get more and more over it. So yeah, you might need snacks for this one. And Michael's here. Good to see you. All right. I found this video, and I always find it interesting when somebody wants to equate atheism to something I don't think is atheism. And so when somebody asks the question, is atheism a religion? I have a tendency to perk up to that because my thoughts with such a video are something like this. Define what a religion is, and does atheism fit that? No. Okay, so it's not a religion. Roll credits. You could really get such a video done, in my opinion, in about a minute. This is what the definition of religion is. This is what the definition of atheism is. They don't line up in any way, shape, or form. No, atheism isn't a religion. Roll credits. And I think that's the problem with this question. So you kind of But if you want to make a 10-minute video like John Green does here, you've got to do a little bit more than that. So he does a little bit of history and some references to some famous atheists and a few other things that we can talk about tonight. So we're going to do that. So yeah, so there's that. Yeah, it's working. You love it when you're right. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yes, we'll nibbling carrots eventually, I think. Make sure they're circumcised carrots. And, they don't need to be, they're pure. Carrots are the only pure vegetables, so you're good. Yeah, it is a religion. All the degenerate, if you see as something, yes, it's kind of that way. I've had this debate with myself on a couple of occasions. Like if you boil down religion, like worldviews and religions, they usually encompass far more issues than atheism does. And so I'm always torn about this because every time somebody who sees religion or their religion as a positive, but then they want to say atheism is also a religion to make it flawed. Like it seems to me that that's the opposite of the way you want to do that, because atheism isn't a religion. That's what makes it flawed. But they never do the argument that way. I tell theists that all the time. They just don't get it. Yeah. Shooting their interest, following with great devotion, but that's so general. Yeah, I don't think it applies to an ideology that says I don't believe in a God. But we'll see. Let's bring Mr. Green up here, and I'm going to pause him. Get back to the beginning. Let's change the layout just a bit. I don't know if everybody wants to see my lovely face more, but we'll see. We'll see. But I prefer to react this way, so we'll see what happens. But let's hear Mr. Green out. Let me adjust the volume just a little bit, and we'll roll.
Hi, I'm John Green. Welcome to Crash Course Religion. So this one will be fun and not at all stressful. God is dead and we've killed him, at least according to 19th century German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was an atheist, meaning he didn't believe in a deity. He was also a harsh critic of Christianity and religion in general. But this wasn't his way of bragging. It was an alarm bell, a warning that there may be some downsides to conceiving of a universe governed by physics and not divine will. Without God, who will we look to for moral guidance? The death of God could spell the end of European society, of the whole world.
Okay, I don't know. Some of you know Nietzsche better than I do. Did he really go on and on about how the death of God? Because I've never read him like in total. So, I mean, I guess my ignorance about Nietzsche is pretty high. I don't just read, I have no idea. So that's, I don't know. My thoughts are, did he really feel it would be the death of Western civilization to not believe in God? I don't get that if that's a thing. So there's that. Yeah, atheists having faith. Yeah, nope, I don't do. See, I can't put myself in Christian shoes and rationalize atheism is just original, as I already think Hinduism, Islam are silly. So why would I have a problem saying atheism is religion? I can understand why theists do it. I just don't. I don't agree with them. Yeah, so good to see you. You're back. Okay, very good. So there's that. But yeah. That doesn't cover atheism. I find it fascinating because I never believed atheism is just my resting bitch face. Yeah, that's probably true. So, but I don't know if he's accurate on Nietzsche's, because God is dead is something that Nietzsche said, but I don't know if he was saying it was an alarm bell or a warning bell of what would happen in society. Would society collapse or any of that stuff? I just don't see. I've never really heard somebody say that about Nietzsche's writings before. So I guess I'm trying to figure out if he is being accurate or not. So I guess I'll leave that to some of you to do some research on to see if he's being accurate on that. I never felt like Nishiki was bothered by the fact that God was dead and that it had some sort of implications for society. I don't know if he actually felt that way about the death of God. So I don't know, him saying it's a warning bag, I don't sure. So Nishiki believed in illusions of religion did contribute some good. He was concerned that the next comforting illusion was going to be without a deity. Okay, so I guess I would have a conversation with Nishiki. Why is that a concern? Because it seems to me that belief in deities cause a lot of problems as well. I don't know if they necessarily solve problems. They seem to create them more. That's why I'm an anti-theist, because I don't think religion is doing humanity any good anymore. I think we found a better way to do good, and he would, the statement made in the video is like, oh, this is also, what are we going to do about morality? I don't know, who are we going to turn to for that? And it's like us figuring out better ways to do things that are more moral, that benefit more people. I don't know that. I mean, I guess if he felt that religion did contribute some good, I guess I could see that. I would probably argue about that with him, but I don't know. Tooth is okay. Earl's recommendation for drugs is working fine, perfectly. I feel nothing. The swelling is down and I feel nothing in my mouth right now. It's like normal. So I've not read Nishiki since I was a teenager, and it's hard to explain him. Parts are drenched in satire from what I remember. Okay, so he also could be satirical when he said all that stuff. Like he's being hyperbolic, like, oh, what will we do without religion? It's like there's a lot of atheists that do that, where they're just like, oh, whatever shall we do about morality, or whatever shall we do about our worldview, and how will society survive without a belief in God and all that stuff. So he could have been that. God. Nishi, yeah, Nishiki. You're an anti-theist, yeah, me too. For specific gods, and certainly for specific religions, I think the Abrahamic religions need to go. They're not really doing us any good anymore. They just keep conflict going. Belief in God is dead, following the age of reason and enlightenment, nothing to do with living as such. Okay, that's possible. The issue wasn't doom speaking on the downfall of God. Okay. That seems to kind of fit what I would probably do as an atheist. I would probably be like, okay, is this the doom of Western civilization or whatever? So I'm not sure that's. I don't know. You definitely need to make sure it's a good translation. God fell into the same hole that Earl did, allegedly. Oh. They were heavily edited by his fascist aligned sister. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he's kind of a interesting character. Contrary to a lot of theist opinions, I don't read a lot of atheists. I don't have prophets anymore, and I don't have gospel writers anymore to turn to. I don't have any of that crap. So I just don't. I don't see it happening with me anymore, where I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to go visit that stuff and reaffirm my atheism. I don't believe. Okay, and until somebody gives me good evidence to believe, I guess I just don't see how that works for me. And so I've never read Nishiki other than excerpts in various philosophy classes, a few history classes bring him up, but that was about it. I've just never grabbed a Oh, she got her Nazi hooks into the last ones. Okay, I will remember that if I ever do pick him up. And God answers prayer. What do I do? Theists have life problems just like mine. I wish I could answer that question other than to say we're all humans, and I don't think the God and the religion actually answers the problem. I just think with religion you're just allowed to reframe the problem and ignore a good chunk of it. I think that's the biggest problem. One of the biggest downfalls of theism and religion is it causes you not to look at your problems as closely, and so you never really solve them. So God's especially against the Jew and pass the test. I don't need literature about not believing. I want good evidence of what I'm supposed to believe. That's it. So is my workplace slave? Yes. So far. Awful. She rewrote a lot of his work to best represent his icky beliefs. Yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, well, let's move on. Let's see if Mr. Green has anything else to say. I don't think he's like, this is another one of those videos where it's a good discussion thing, and not necessarily he's being anti-atheism. So at least as far as I got into it. So.
And yet, the world has continued to spin. So were the rumors of God's death an exaggeration? Maybe, but Nietzsche's generation wasn't the first to give up their belief in God, and certainly wouldn't be the last either. Today, we'll talk about what it means to live in a world where more and more people do not believe in gods, and whether approaching those atheistic beliefs through the lens of religion can be informative, which won't make anyone mad.
Yeah, I think he's very tongue-in-cheek there, like talking about atheism. That's not going to make anybody mad. It always makes believers mad. There's always a group of believers that's going to be mad. Yeah, I don't get. I get the humor here because he's like, yeah, this is not going to make anybody mad, and and sure enough, so I don't know. It's interesting. I've been doing this. I was on Facebook earlier, and I can't remember. Somebody posted about just bring up the fact that you don't believe their God's real if you want to see how angry people are going to be. And yeah, after 5.5 years on YouTube, the angriest people are usually the people that believe. So he has a decent pronunciation of the name, by the way. Okay, yeah, I can't do it, Michael. I'm not doing it on purpose. The thing about learning about philosophy or historical figures is usually you stick with the pronunciation you first hear, and it's really hard to get over it. So at least that's the way I have it. Yeah. Have atheist church. Okay, fair enough. I thought this was our atheist church. This is like the Church of Fangs here, man. Jesus, Yahweh said the same, and none are going to work. Yes, exactly. So he's already embracing the fact that he's probably going to get pushed back on this one. So I can appreciate that.
The word atheism comes from the Greek word atheos, meaning without a god, and that's pretty much what atheism is today, a lack of belief in a higher power. But the word's meaning, like the folks who identify with it, has changed over time. Like back in the 16th and 17th centuries, when the word first gained traction in Europe, the Protestant Reformation was in full swing and people needed a new vocabulary to describe the splintering of religious beliefs that was happening. The word atheist was originally coined as an insult, something few people would have identified with. English dictionaries from the 1600s defined atheism as a, quote, damnable doctrine, and often included quotes meant to discourage people from becoming atheists, which, I mean, I guess dictionaries have never been impartial, but it didn't.
No. Yeah, dictionaries have always been partial. Definitions of words are always very interesting to me because they tend to reflect the societies that they come out of. And so, I mean, pretty much right out the gate, in the 16th and 17th centuries, atheism was defined very poorly and very negatively. So, I get what he's referencing a little bit more modern because, as Michael Bell is going to point out here, atheism is older than Christianity. There are people that did not believe in gods long before Christianity came around. So there's that aspect. This is the Holy of Holies. Okay, fair enough. As Nietzsche, as in Che Guevara, that might help. Sorry for picking on it. Hey, I get it, but I've Nietzsche. Okay, there we go. Or Nietzsche. Okay, all right, there we go. I don't know. My default brain settings are still hard to change anymore. It's hard to read. He's constantly making reference to other philosophers, both ancient and contemporary. If you aren't familiar with those, it's a slog. Okay. Because you probably have to stop and look up what they had to say about whatever he's talking about. Okay. Known God, and one did answer mine, but I won't tell you which one. Okay. All right. It only takes one. German philosophers are pained to read, full stop, even in German. Okay, Michael. Oh, yeah. I can speak for German theologians like Barth and a few others, too. They're not exactly easy to read either. So that's probably as old as the first religion. Whoever came up with the first religion, there was probably some person saying, I don't believe that. So religion began when the first common met the first fool. That is probably true. So there you go. That's how old that is. But yeah. So that's what he sees. He's got Voltaire up here. Let's rewind this just a bit.
Doctrine, and often included quotes meant to discourage people from becoming atheists, which, I guess dictionaries have never been impartial, but it didn't stick. French philosophers like Voltaire and Diderot in the late 17th and early 18th centuries made the idea of non-belief a lot more mainstream and visible, even as they struggled with their own faiths personally.
Yeah, I had to point this out with Voltaire. I do know a little bit about Voltaire. He maintained a belief in more of a deist God right to the end, but he absolutely understood why people didn't believe in God at all. So his fights with the Catholic Church are legendary. So, but yeah, the French philosophers definitely didn't have a problem with atheism as much as other people did. So, Hegel. Yeah, I think that's the thing, Michael. If you look at common definitions of religion, it's like I said at the beginning. If I put up the definition of religion and the definition of atheism that side by side, there's no way to get an equal sign there. And so end video, roll credits. So, but you can't do a 10-minute video with just the definition. So he's kind of going down the historical route and probably a few other ways of looking at it before he makes a conclusion, which I haven't heard yet. So not believing in an idea. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I get the argument there too. It's unless the concept of a God is brought up, how can you be an atheist? Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, not believing in a deity is probably older. There was the original concept of the first original deity, and before that, people didn't have that concept. So yeah, not believing in something is not having a deity at all is probably older. So at some point, the human race decided deities were cool. So there we go.
Similarly, some of the founders of the United States, while not technically atheists, were into deism, where they thought God technically existed, but after making the universe, he just left it alone, like a watchmaker, or like my personal hero Charles Alderton, who invented the perfect soda recipe, Dr. Pepper, and then left it alone to take over the world. Different deists.
Okay. Does anybody believe that last claim? Like, we just create Dr. Paper and let it take over the world? So I'm not sure that that's necessarily true. But yes, a lot of the founding fathers were deists. So God makes the universe and walks away kind of thing, which I think it was more like a God of the gaps necessity, because it just didn't have other answers. So when we don't have an answer, we're just throwing God, and deism results. So you don't like Dr. Pepper? I don't know. I'm a fan of its derivatives, not the original. So like, there's a cream Dr. Pepper, and there's I don't know, the sugar-free version actually tastes better than the original to me. So I'm weird. I'm weird like that, I guess. But yeah, I'm not a fan. So there's that.
Were more or less prone to reject Christianity, with some interested in Christianity's moral and ethical teachings while ignoring, like, the God stuff. Thomas Jefferson, for instance, spent years privately cutting every reference to the supernatural out of a Bible while pasting and moving around certain teachings on morals and ethics. Atheism.
Also true with Thomas Jefferson. He did do that. I'm not sure how much Bible would be left if you took all the supernatural crap out of it. I guess I would have to see. I'm sure there's a printed copy of Jefferson's final version of the Bible once he did all that and put all the ethical teachings together. See, my problem with the moral and ethics of the Bible now is I don't really think that they're that great. I think we've come up with better stuff since, so on our own as humans. So I'm just not a big fan of the idea that Christianity has this great, unique morality that we need to keep. So, slavery kind of comes to mind. Inequality of the sexes comes to mind. There's just a bunch of stuff that just I don't want to do. Oh, you do? Yeah, I figured they had Thomas Jefferson's Bible somewhere. I probably should pick up a copy. See what he left, because I've really thought about, I would edit the Bible by taking all the supernatural stuff out, which wouldn't leave a whole bunch left, because I'm going to wholesale get rid of the prophets, because the whole claim of the prophet is that they're hearing directly from God, which would be a supernatural event. So every Old Testament prophet bites the dust right there. And a good chunk of the miracles. I mean, how much of the first 5 books of the Bible would be left? I don't know. I would guess that it's a form of theism, and the fact that it's belief in higher powers, or that there's spiritual forces that have greater power. You're believing in something. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, there's a, anthropologically, there's this dispute about that might be the first places like animal spirits and, nature gods become like the first gods. So actual gods until those pathetic organic ape things came along. Yeah, I can see where the elder gods perspective with you still have a shitload of war. Yeah, people are going to kill each other. Yeah, it's just I would also add, I would dump all the moral teachings of the Bible that I think are immoral, and I would lose probably half of what Jefferson kept. So yeah, I can see that.
Really took off during the 19th century with the writings of folks like Nietzsche, Charles Darwin, and Karl Marx. While Darwin himself was neither here nor there on the existence of a god, his theories about human evolution were often seen as in opposition to the Christian creation story.
Oh yes, very much so. That's Darwin, and the theory of evolution has been kicking the living crap out of Genesis ever since it is pretty much determined to be true. And so, creationists keep trying, but you don't have the diversity of life. There's a lot of things that just aren't there. There's so many things now that I don't need a supernatural explanation for. So, yes, I do see where he's going with that. Like, Darwin, I don't think really lost his belief in God till the end. But yeah, he couldn't get past the truth and conclusions of some of this stuff. Just like hairless cats. Okay, that's probably fair. Black Book. Oh, yeah. 2001. All right. Did a naked e-book? Okay. There you go. Hairless apes.
And Darwin's friend and fellow scientist Thomas Huxley even debated the highly regarded Bishop of Oxford on the topic, and essentially told the bishop, "I'd rather have an ape for a grandfather than a guy like you." While atheists are still often stereotyped as immoral or even dangerous, atheism itself continues to grow in popularity.
I am absolutely glad that he mentioned those two things that those are stereotypes of the atheists, that atheists are dangerous or immoral. Those are two very bad stereotypes, and I'm glad he kind of mentions that's a stereotype, and we're going to get rid of that. So, kudos to him for doing that. It's definitely one of those things that I try to tell people on this channel on a constant basis, that this is not, atheism isn't immoral. Simply because you don't believe in a God doesn't make you immoral. I'm not dangerous. In fact, I'm probably more peaceful than most other people. So, and my atheism is a part of that, because there's a lot of reasons without faith that I don't have to hate other people. So, I nearly got from that. Oh, say. Tried to read more of the Bible as inspiration for Gridmark's fantasy, but dude, it was so boring. King Joseph and Enoch as fun as yes, and that's the thing about. See, this is why Norse mythology has become my favorite in comparison to the biblical mythology. Biblical mythology is boring. It really is very lackluster as far as imagination. But like the Norse and Greek myths, you can easily adapt to fantasy, and the stories are much more exciting. But Yahweh is kind of a pretty one-dimensional character. Like, he gets pissed and kills people. So that doesn't leave you with a lot of good dimensions, To drag itself from superstition. Darwin did that for biologists. Yes, and I think that's the key thing, Cranky, is that Darwin's Origin of Species kind of dragged it was such a definitive thing. But yes, astronomy took forever. I would say geology was actually the first to observe that the Earth was probably a hell of a lot older than the creation story. So there's that. So yeah, definitely. But I have to remark that this guy at least says atheism isn't dangerous, and we're not immoral. He at least got that part right.
In 2024, studies showed that roughly 28% of Americans identified as religiously unaffiliated. Of course, all those unaffiliated folks aren't necessarily atheists. Within this category, there's a pretty big crew of agnostics, which comes from a word that means without knowledge. Appropriately, agnostics say they simply don't know whether there's a God. Many think it's impossible to prove or disprove God's existence, and that there's no point in trying. Then you have your
Okay, I want to stop there. I always have fun with agnostics, because I will ask them the question, well, okay, which God do you believe in? And universally, it's like, well, I don't believe in any of them. And it's like, okay, well, congratulations, you're also an atheist. And it's like, it just illustrates the point that belief and knowledge are two different things. Like, what you believe in and what you know and cannot know are two different things. So, interesting remarkable thing. So it's like I've 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 many times I've approached an agnostic and asked them what God they believe in, and they're like, "Well, I don't believe in any." I'm like, "Well, then you're an atheist. Why do you?" I really get it's getting annoying sometimes because they'll avoid the title of atheism because it's been so propagandized, and it's like the way to fight against that is acknowledge that you are indeed an atheist as well, and explain that that doesn't make you a bad person, it doesn't make you immoral, it doesn't make you dangerous, and that all that other stuff is just bullshit. Okay, like it's like you need to confront the bullshit of the atheist definition, not run from it and just call yourself agnostic because it seems more intellectually, sound. I've always hated that when agnostics do that, and I always approach them. Okay, which God do you believe in? And they'll often say, "Well, I don't believe in any God." Well, thank you. You're an agnostic atheist. Okay, like me. Thanks. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah. How can you disprove that which has never been proven? Yeah, it's hard to do that. Option for the same single question. Yes, I wish that that people understood that better, but usually it's the agnostics that like to fight about that definition. As an atheist, I don't really fight about the agnostic part because I'm an agnostic atheist myself. I'm like, I don't see that the human race has the capability of proving or disproving a God, but I just don't see any evidence for a God at all either. So, yeah, grouping nuns and nuns, yeah. I've had that confusion about the nuns has existed many times. So I don't know. They need to ask the question just a little bit different. But when you're up to 28% of people that just don't believe in a deity in reality, yeah, there's that. And I think he's about to talk about materialists, as I recall.
Knowledge, appropriately, agnostics say they simply don't know whether there's a God. Many think it's impossible to prove or disprove God's existence, and that there's no point in trying. Then you have your materialists, who believe that everything that exists can be studied through science, which isn't an outright denial of God's existence, but a way of saying if a God did exist, it would have to do so within the laws of physics. And
yes, and I think that's fair. And I know a lot of people, like I remember arguing with several theists that materialism doesn't necessarily have anything to do with atheism either. Um, Hard determinism, they like to put us in that camp too. And I'm like, I'm not a hard determinist, I'm a soft determinist. So, there's things I can do, but I'm not really sure there's a lot of things in the world I can do anything about. But yes, you're a radical definitionalist, so you reject the agnostic term. Well, there you go. See, that's fair too. Yeah, I mean, if God would show up within physics, then we'd have pretty good evidence that he existed, but he doesn't seem to. So some nuns are probably nuns, but they won't admit it because the church will have none of that. Okay, Fred. And I don't fully represent either block. Yeah, I think that's fair because I've gotten the answer. Well, I do kind of believe, and I said, okay, well, you're a deist then. Okay, so it's like I've gotten. Well, I believe there might be a superpower out there or a god or something. I said, well, that makes you either a deist or some sort of animist or something, but it doesn't get you out. The term. My point is the term agnostic doesn't get you away from what you believe or don't believe. Okay, it doesn't do that. So. But yeah.
Plenty do identify as atheists, but even within atheism we find variations in philosophy. There's explicit atheism, which asserts positively that no higher power exists, and implicit atheism, which is a passive lack of belief in a higher power. Oh boy, I'm getting a call from a blocked number, which I didn't know was even possible. Hey, broski, don't hang up. I just got a question. It's one that's been bugging me, and that's what you guys do here, right? You answer questions. I mean, that doesn't even begin to describe everything we do at Crash Course, but sure, go ahead. Isn't believing in God just like a better bet than not believing? Like, I mean, if atheists are right, then believing in God doesn't change anything, but if they're wrong, we lose everything. Wouldn't it be better to just hedge your bets and believe? That's actually a pretty popular philosophical argument called Pascal's wager. It's the idea that belief in God is like the safer bet. So I'll bite. Which one do you have your money on?
That's a silly question. God, the Father, capital G, the one from the Bible.
So, not the West African god Anansi, or maybe the Egyptian war goddess Neith. Don't even get me started listing all the literal millions of Hindu deities. And then, of course, there's always the possibility that the one true God belongs to a religion that doesn't even exist yet.
Right, but I don't believe in any of those gods. Oh.
What makes Zeus or Demeter untrue, but your God the only truth?
Listen, man, I gotta make some calls.
You know, I'm starting to think I might actually be getting through to him. Hold on. Oh, he just sent me a text message that's a picture of his butt with the caption, "This is you." So that's nice.
Oh yes, the Pascal's wager. I've done that before too, and he did it a little bit more humorous than I did it, but I just pointed out it's not like a flip of the coin. It's a roulette wheel, okay, and you're betting on one square on a roulette wheel. It's not an either or decision, okay. Like you have your particular God, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that you don't believe in. How do you know you're right in that one? So. Joe Pascal thought this would be. Yeah, he didn't really publish that wager, did he? So I think the reason he didn't publish it is I think somebody, if he vetted this to somebody pointed out what this guy just pointed out to him. It's like, well, that's nice, but you're excluding all the other gods that people believe in. And so Pascal's wager kind of fails on multitude of grounds. Like, it doesn't consider every religion or god. So there's that. Plus, we're not even talking about supernatural beliefs or belief in the force, or so there's that. So yeah, it begs the question. So that one begs the question. Yeah, if he knew he'd fake it. He made the title up here, so. You guys are my okay. There we go. Thousand Gods. Yeah, it's Kilopet. I don't know what it is. My largest problem with Pascal's wager is just what he just did. It's like, which God? And then you point out to the person that believes it. It's like, well, what if you're believing in the wrong God? And they're like, well, no, I can't be. And it's like, yeah, it just goes. Yeah, and that's the problem. It was like a Catholic censorship thing, and I think that's part of it. But it's like, I think as a mathematician and somebody who knew a little bit more about probabilities and stuff, I almost think that he didn't publish it because he realized there were still problems with it. So, yeah, I think that's why he didn't do it. So.
But our friend the Devil's Advocate has brought up a good point, just not the one he was trying to make. Atheism, as we know it today, is often brought up in opposition to Christianity, but the idea itself is considerably older and more diverse than that comparison suggests. In many cultures throughout history, there have been groups who didn't care if the gods and goddesses of their people were really real, and others who specifically didn't believe in the popular deities of their day. Up to 20% of people who identify as Christian aren't sure they believe the God of the Bible is really real, and therefore might be classified as agnostic. And in other religious traditions, including Judaism, it's even more common. Ancient India saw multiple schools within Hinduism that denied the existence of an eternal or personal god. Buddhism was founded by a guy who didn't have much use for deities. Jainism, a religion that was founded in the 5th century and influenced the nonviolent ideologies of people like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., has no rules about believing in a higher power.
Okay, so what he's basically done up to this point is point out to all of us that even within religions, there is a lot of doubt about whether the religion is true. So are those people actually true believers? Are they agnostics? So, or do they qualify in some sense as an atheist because they don't really believe in the gods? They're just trying to hold on to like the moral teachings of whatever they're doing. And so I think he brings up a good point. So, hey, Evan, there you go. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I was glad. So, Let's see. RD might get an unfortunate beginnings. None of the nuns thought. Let's see. Michael Bell, I'm volunteering for Amnesty International. Know your rights. I think I need them there. Of course, I'm late. What do you expect? But of course, I'd have to shout about it. All right, here we go. All right, there you go. But yeah, he's making just some very basic points at this point. Like a lot of people that supposedly are parts of religions do not believe in God either, and so I find that that's an interesting phenomena too. So yes, Fangs forgives you for being late, Evan. It's fine. We're good. Fangs, to be fair though, doesn't give a shit about most things. So.
In many cases, though, these weren't the atheists we'd think of today. Scholars often use the term non-theism instead of atheism for ancient traditions. These non-theists were simply concerned with questions other than, does God exist? Cultures in ancient China, Greece, and Rome all had their non-theism cliques at various times. In the last couple centuries, though, especially in the United States, atheism has broadened into a way to critique religion, society, and politics, especially the places where society is shaped by religious traditions. The American writer and abolitionist Frederick Douglass, who was formerly enslaved, criticized the hypocrisy of slave-owning Christians. He once wrote, "I should regard being the slave of a religious master the greatest calamity that could befall me."
Yeah, it's it has been interesting that how many people like myself are very critical of Christianity, and this is not a new phenomenon. It's been around for a while. But Frederick Douglass he's not probably the first to point out the hypocrisy of a lot of Christians. Like I've heard it many times by theists, like, as the first abolitionists were Christians, and like, well, then they were being hypocrites because on the one hand they're saying the Bible is true, which definitely advocates for slavery, but then they're turned around and fighting against it. So it's like, if they're fighting against it, they're doing it in opposition to their religion. So yeah, and so Frederick Douglass, like he's just pointing out an obvious problem with a lot of the hypocrisy of a lot of the people that existed at that time. So Esperanto, I don't know. I don't know. See, I don't think the liturgy of Fangsology has an official language. So, hey, Fangs, good to see you. Oh yes, see, Fangs forgives you, Evan. It's all good. It's nice when the deity has their own YouTube account. Oh, yeah, gibberish could be an official language too. But I'm serious. So there's that. But yes. I mean, Fangs can curtsy too. It's okay, Fangs. You can curtsy all you want. Do what you want. I mean, yeah, I would argue that atheism doesn't have much to do with politics either. But I do think the critique of religion does have a lot to do with politics because religion tries to push itself into the political sphere so many times. Case in point, my own country right now. So, yeah, it's something. So there, so there's. Uh, I don't know what to do with you here. Hold on. Let's see. Uh, okay, try it again, Fangs. Let's see what you got now. I mean, how could I deny moderator powers to the deity of choice of the channel? So, like at that. See now. There we go. Blue and a wrench. Wield it with care. So there you go. There you go. There's a moment. Fangs has joined the channel and is now also a moderator. So there you go. That's self-defense. Yes, it is. But yes, I think atheism doesn't really have much to do with politics because it doesn't really have a political viewpoint. More of a viewpoint on God. But I know a lot of atheists who attack religion on those different political grounds. So yes. Extra heavy boinky stick. Yes, there you go.
Suffragist Matilda Jocelyn Gage pointed out similar religious hypocrisy when fighting for the rights of women. And in the 21st century...
Yep, but it's not really hypocritical when your book says that women are subordinate to men. So the hypocrisy lies in the fact that Christians have often taken the morality of the people around them, and that's often been in opposition to what their book actually says. Like, if you're an abolitionist or a woman's rights advocate back in the day, you're in opposition to what your book says. So there's that. Yes. You have the wrench. I don't know. Fangs. See, I mean, the problem with is Fangs a small rabbit or not? Because I got pictures that create this problem. Like when you look at Fangs, he appears in, well, I'll just state it. He just appears in different sizes. Like he's pictured next to the world, and the world looks like a basketball. So it's like. So it's that aspect of it, that he can do whatever he wants as far as size. So you don't have opposable thumbs. Okay. Fair enough. I often say that I'm glad progressives, but they're progressive despite their religion, not because of it. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. That's been my take on it too. Like, oh, Christians were the first abolitionists. Well, okay, you're in defiance of your own Bible. Christians were the first women's rights advocates. Well, also in defiance of your Bible. So yes, it's almost like they just want to be part of the culture and move on with their morality. So, hey, Tux, good to see you. Don't see Tux very often, but I'm glad he's here. So there we go. Now let's see if we go any further with this. See, I'm still waiting for an answer to the question by Mr. Green here: is atheism a religion? So
we've seen the rise of a movement known as New Atheism, popularized by writers like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins. Other writers like Ta-Nehisi Coates have written about civil rights within the framework of a godless universe. In Between the World and Me, Coates imagines no moral arc of the universe bending toward justice, a response to a famous line from Martin Luther King. Where Nietzsche warned about the death of God and what it might mean for a moral society, the New Atheists have advocated explicitly for an ethical obligation to reject the idea of God, centered around the belief that we could solve a lot of our problems if we did away with religion entirely. The New Atheists have at times...
Okay, yeah, so yes, I'm kind of along that vein too, of saying that we'd actually get to have a more moral society if we got rid of the belief in gods, because it seems like beliefs in gods lead to most of our fights with each other. Like we have these irrational beliefs that lead us to violence towards each other. So there you go. Yes, Jimmy the Tux. Winch weighs as much as I do. I did not think this through. Well, I don't know. You could wield the wrench with your mouth, I guess. There you go. And his relationship to Tennessee Tech too. I agree with you. I think progressive Christians are cowardly in that aspect, as they don't, I can respect a fundamentalist Christian because at least they're being honest about what their Bible says. Like, I reacted to the one pastor a while ago that basically said that, yes, slavery is in the Bible, and tried to justify it, because I can at least respect the fact that they're being honest about what the Bible says. And if they're going to be Christians, that's what they have to believe. So you're definitely not Earl. You're the resident deity. Okay, very good. It becomes a moral testing ground because the Bible leaves it to the dominion. Fangs can be tortured, eaten. Doesn't exist. Yeah, you might break your sharp, pointy teeth. Okay, fair enough. We'll have to come up with some magical way that you can lift the wrench, but have fun with it. God, but live by, they don't want to live by fundamental dogma. So it's and I've argued that progressive Christianity still empowers the fundamentalists, because you're still not dismissing the main tenets of anything. You're still like promoting the religion as a whole, and so it still becomes a problem. But I think a lot of atheists have made the point that if you get rid of God, morality actually could be better, and I'm kind of in that camp. So getting rid of these, so you got to get your thinky bits working. Okay, there you go. Which puts progressives on equal footing with anybody but literalists. Yes. It would be more honest to leave theism, but that would be emotionally difficult. And that's what I've told people over and over, because I've been accused more than once. Oh, you just left the faith for emotional reasons. Oh, hell no. I had a lot more emotional reasons to hang on to my faith. It was the rationality of it that finally drove me away. So there's that. But there you go. But yes, he's making some valid points about some atheists that have proposed that morality is better without gods and religions. And so we'll see. It's like we're no longer like at this point in our history with atheism where we're hiding our beliefs or our lack of thereof. Now that we're more open about it, we're like saying, the belief in gods causes these problems. If you don't believe in God, those problems aren't really caused. So you don't even have to argue that. So valid point.
Been labeled dogmatic and even fundamentalist in their belief that there's no God, which has led some to wonder if atheism is also a religion. Now, I admitted in episode 1 that I don't know what a religion is, which means we're already in dicey territory, and as we've seen throughout this series, defining a religion can be a bit like trying to guess how many stars are in the sky, like you could say at least 5, or at least 5 million, and both answers would be right and wrong in their own way. But
you want a battle axe? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what a fundamentalist atheist is either. How do you see? My problem is, like, we get these discussions about religion, and if I just look up the word religion, okay, I mean, I probably still have like there's several, like, the idea of belief in worship, that you believe in worship of superhuman powers, or powers, especially gods or gods, goddesses, and all that stuff, or a system of faith, particularly a faith and worship of institutionalized practice through rituals, doctrines, moral codes. And when you look at atheism in terms of those two definitions, no, atheism is not a religion. So it's like, and I go back to Peterson's debate with the 20 atheists and the one guy bringing up common parlance. And it's like Mr. Green here wants to just, like, he seems to want to, I haven't watched his episode 1, but you're being skittish about the word religion. And I'm not really sure what the hell a fundamentalist atheist is. Give me why? Because they they openly assert they don't believe there's a God. Does that make you a fundamentalist? I mean, what the hell makes you a fundamentalist atheist? This is a good question, Blossom, because I don't know what that is. I hear that accusation by theists a lot, but they never define what a fundamentalist atheist is. So I don't know what that is. And trying to put, there's a lot of imposition of trying to put religious words on atheists. So I don't understand how a lot of people, do that. So I don't get that, like dogmatic. What the hell's a dogmatic atheist? Like we're having this discussion on Saturday Night the Atheists about that particular pastor was like, I'm trying not to be dogmatic, then immediately gets dogmatic about the Bible. It's like, how do you be dogmatic about not believing in something? Like, are you dogmatic about not believing in Zeus? Are you dogmatic in, I don't believe, in other deities like Vishnu either? Does that make me dogmatic? Does that make me a fundamentalist? So I don't, and he's sitting there, well, the definition of religion is really vague. No, it's not. And this is where I start to have a point of contention with this video at this point, because this whole discussion where I haven't watched his first video, but it's like, it's kind of like religion, I know religions when I see them. It's kind of like porn, you know it when you see it. Well, religion, you kind of know if something's a religion when you see it. And it's like, I think it can be pretty much defined like what a religion is. It's a system of belief, usually involving higher powers or something. What you often get in religions is supernatural claims, of something. There's doctrines, there's institutionalized rituals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can add all these definitions and define a religion. Well, guess what? Atheism doesn't have any of that. It does not have any of that. And so you're left with like a curious devotion to something, like a sports team or whatever, like where you're really over the top in that, or you have religious type devotion. But I don't know, do atheists, when you really analyze their stuff, do they really have this religious devotion to their atheism? I'm not sure that they do. So I don't know. I just don't have an understanding of how, what the hell, I agree with you here. What the hell is a fundamentalist atheist? I don't know what that is. I'm not convinced by any definition of gods of which I've been made aware. Okay, there you go. I don't believe you 3 times in a row, then you're a fundy atheist. Okay. Is that the ritual that makes you a fundamentalist atheist, as you say, I don't believe you 3 times? Okay, fair enough. High standards of evidence. How does that make you a fundamentalist? Like, I'll bet, hold on. There's a word I got to look up. Let's say fundamentalist. The religious context of fundamentalist is they have like a strict literal interpretation of sacred texts. I don't have a sacred text as an atheist, so I don't know how that would make me fundamentalist. Protestant Christianity is the origin of that term in the first place, so it has a religious origin. So why the hell would I have that? Uncompromising adherence to basic principles, but I don't know that atheism in itself has basic principles. Rigidity, intolerance, resistance to modernity. That doesn't fit either. Reaction against secularism and liberalism as fundamentalism. Viewed as totalitarian. Yeah, I'm not that either. So when I look up the definition of fundamentalist, I don't even fit that. I don't know how atheism even fits that. So versus religion. So maybe there's a connection on what religion is, but it's pretty clear what it is not, Right now I'm just kind of, I just kind of think, to me, the closest definition of God is the presence of grace, but I don't think that locks itself into a religion per se. Yes, I mean, see, that's the other thing. I know what he's getting at, because he's trying to make it vague so that when he answers this question, he can have some vague definition of religion that it might fit. But I don't think, when you look at the hard definitions what a religion is, atheism even comes close to qualifying. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what grace is that much anymore. It's when I was there, when I was in Christianity, grace was unmerited favor, but I don't know that that applies outside of anything, any religion. They said even as, yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to have something. Hey, BS. A fundamentalist, I staunchly hold to the fundamental dogma of not believing in a God. Okay. I mean, is that how you, I mean, does that make you religious, though? I don't know. That might be more of a foundationalist atheist than a fundamentalist one. Reject weak evidence, which for other side looks like a fundy because you reject the low bar crap. Yeah, I can see that, I guess. God has too much authoritarian baggage. Correct. Agreed. So yeah, I don't know. See, because I get what he's doing, because this is like part 13 in his series on religion. And the first part I haven't watched. And so he's saying in his first part, he's like, I have a hard time defining what a religion is. Well, then why the hell did you do the other 12, the other 11 parts between this one and that one? If you're doing a series on Crash Course on Religion, how did you define religion to pull out the other religions? That becomes my question. So I guess that's an interesting way to put it. I mean, I don't have a problem with people being mystical. Like, I've had discussions with Buddhists, and I'm like, do you believe in a personal God? And they will tell you no. But they like the philosophy and stuff about Buddhism. So are they atheists or not? If you don't really believe in a personal supernatural deity, I guess you could qualify as being an atheist under some definitions, but that's a different discussion. Yeah, basically we're down to one thing, and I'm not even sure it's a belief. It's a non-belief. Like, I just don't believe any God claims. So I'm not even sure that that's a belief. It's more of a state of, I don't believe that, so default. So I don't know. But I get what he's doing here. So let's see what he does with this. I want to see what he does with this.
Let's pursue this question by looking at some common features associated with religions and seeing how they stack up in atheism. Obviously, the whole supernatural higher power thing is out, but religions also serve as a framework that help people organize, shape, and make sense of life. For some atheists, the critique of religion fits that bill. Deconstructing religion and religious power is a moral imperative and an organizing principle in their lives. Of course, for lots of others, atheism...
Except, is that unique to atheism? Because many other religions try to deconstruct other religions. When I was a Christian, when people converted from Islam or converted from Hinduism or something else and had to deconstruct their old faith, I'm not sure that fits. And I'm not really sure that, I'm not sure all atheists try to do that. Okay. So I think the problem is he's looking at a really big topic of atheism and trying to put it into a mold. And I don't know if he can do that. So I don't know. It's interesting that he puts it that way, but I don't know. I don't know if atheism fits at that point, because now he's using a definition of religion that I'm not sure fits any common definition. So this is a definition he might have made up in his first video, and I would have to critique that at that point. So, but yeah, I don't see that this is a definition of religion. So Yeah, it's like, is this beliefs or religious faith? Like, I believe that we would all be better without religion. Okay. But that's not a religious belief. Okay. That's not a, I don't know. I don't know. I think therefore I am, I think. Okay. There you go. Uh, yeah, I mean, assuming determinism, there are no coincidences. Yes, I can see that debate
Isn't a
happening.
framework for sense making. We might also look for shared practices or gatherings, and there are non religious communities like the American Atheists and the Sunday Assembly who gather for events and experiences kind of like churches, but who specifically don't believe in God. So shared practices are on the table, although only a tiny percentage of atheists attend such gatherings.
Yeah, there are atheist like gatherings and things. Is that really church though? Is that really religious? And having common practices. I mean, if common practices make a religion, then every sports team is a religion. I mean, like literally everything where you gather together and have a common interest suddenly becomes a religion. And I'm not sure, that's way too broad of a definition for religion. So, yeah, you keep preaching, bro, and my mods will get you. Okay, they will get you. Repent of what? Uh, repent of what? Of all the absolute poor understandings of what evolution says, this has got to be the worst. And using all these symbols is driving me nuts. So somebody beat me putting this guy into timeout. And I'm going to throw you in timeout for about 5 minutes. I normally don't do that myself. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how you are going to convince me of it. These are a lot of claims and no evidence to them. Yes, thank you for your opinion, Nicholas. That's a lot of preaching. If you're here to discuss, I'll gladly discuss stuff, but it seems like you're just like trying to shove your stuff here. So, and thanks for subscribing, because I did put a 5-minute time limit on subscribing tonight. So just to get rid of the stuff, but to get back to the point, if common practice is proof of a religion, there's a shit ton of religions. Okay, it seems like, I don't know. Yeah, I think you've made it fairly obvious that he wasn't here to discuss. We'll see what happens.
And what about shared belief? Well, this one clearly varies too. Just like we've discovered the incredible diversity in the beliefs within each religion, atheists share some beliefs and convictions and also have a lot of different priorities. So this one gets a solid maybe as well. Finally, there's doubt. Doubt is the foundation of atheism, and it also might be one of the most universal experiences humans share.
Which makes it, okay, I'm going to stop him right there. Then it makes it absolutely useless as a designation for religion. Okay, doubt, all human beings doubt things. And so is every human being in the religion of doubt? I mean, at this point, I think my problem with a lot of these things saying that they're religion is like you've created such a broad definition of religion that everybody fits in. And it's like it makes the definition of religion useless. Okay, so it's like I don't like the whole common practice thing. It's like, or even common beliefs among atheists. What common beliefs do we have? I mean, you say it, but give me what those beliefs are, because I'll bet you they're disputed. Yeah, so it's like, yes, press X to doubt. Like everybody does doubting. Like, if a Christian's here and some Islamic person gets on and says something Islamic, the Christian person has a doubt about their truth. Okay. If you're going to make doubt a religious, commonality, then every human being involved is there. Okay, so it's like you've made the definition of religion nonsensical at that point. Like, where are we going to have that? So there's that. I mean, I don't understand how at that point you couldn't be like any, if experiencing doubt is part of an atheist mentality, then it's not just mine. It's like every human being doubts at some point about something. And so I don't know. I just, with like common practice, common this, that indicates a religion. Well, then, football teams and their fans are religion. Okay. Like, it's like, and which football are we talking about? We talk about rugby, soccer, or American football. Like, it's like, all of a sudden we have sports teams that become religion and they have their denominations already, which is nice. But I don't consider fandom in a sports team or like fandom in Star Wars, Star Trek, Harry Potter. I don't consider those religions. And a lot of those groups have, they have conventions. Does that make them religious? It's like, I'm sorry. At that point, you've made the definition so broad that it's meaningless. Okay. It's just straight up meaningless at that point. So yeah, if you don't doubt, you're not thinking. Hey, Ronald, I think there's no evidence of anything to believe in religion. I don't think so. A professor told me religion is the way we tie life together. Most atheists tie life with science. Yes. I mean, but even then, if tying life together with some idea or philosophy becomes religious, then there's a shit ton of other religions. And that's my point. Like, religion does have a much more specific definition of that. So it's like he's making the definition of religion so broad that anybody's going to be able to fall in there. And like he's saying after every one of these, no, maybe. I say no, because if that's your definition of what a religion is, then there's a whole other bunch of shit ton of things that qualify as a religion at that point, like from fandoms to, people that gather at family reunions. So they're making their family their God if they get together once a year to do, and they have a common interest in their family. Is that suddenly a religious thing? We promote fangs around here, but what makes fangs a religion is we're much more specific about beliefs about fangs. So it's like, it's a made up religion to illustrate points, but the whole point is like we have common parlance, we have a thing about it, and it fits certain definitions of what a religion is, more common definitions. And that's the real problem. Okay, so I don't understand how this guy at this point, how Mr. Green at this point can make this so broad and not see that he has just literally made almost everything a religion. And it just bothers me when people do this. But we have observed evolution. You're way behind, bro. Okay, evolution has been observed. So, I don't know. We're getting to the end, Kyle. I mean, you can still chime in. There's plenty of things to chime in on. I've got a little bit more time here, but yeah.
All experience doubt in ourselves, in the world, in each other, and yet we continue to believe in the possibility of a better world despite our doubts. Atheism is just an...
Okay, so here's my point then. If we all believe that, then doesn't that make everybody who believes that into some universal religion? That doesn't really do us very much good at defining what a religion is. What if it started as a satirical cult, but was somehow taken serious and took over the world? It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. The thing is, BS, and you know this as well as I do, there's so much in Christianity that's fuzzy around the edges as far as its origin story. Like it's got so much stuff around the edge. So Parlay, yes, I'm sure. But yes, but BS, I would not be surprised if people knew it was bullshit, but they kept it going. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. To be fair, some are more serious about it than some believers are. It's true. And I'm not saying that, but if he's saying like common practice, like I'm a Detroit Lions fan, we all wear the same colors. If that commonality of stuff makes it a religion, then we'd have to say my fandom is a religion, and it's not. Okay, religion has that aspect of that. So I just don't. You need to keep reading, dude. He actually answers the questions in that. Like he doesn't just propose difficulties; he actually gives answers, some of which actually held up. So, see, I love you creationists because you love to quote Darwin, but you always quote the parts you want to quote, like the evolution of the eye, quoted more times than I can think of. And yet literally Darwin, and because I've actually read The Origin of Species, and he literally answers the questions. I remember when I was a creationist, I was surprised because I would look this stuff up, and I had a copy of Origin of Species and Darwin in front of me, and I would read where they were quoting from, and then I would read the rest of it, and like, holy shit, he said it was difficult, but then he answered the question. See, and this is the problem with you creationists. You quote mine Darwin to death, but you're pulling him out of context and you're misrepresentative, and that's just straight up propaganda bullshit. Okay, and you need to stop doing it. Okay, so, but I'm sorry. There's tons of transitional forms. All forms are technically transitional. Like it's moving from one thing to another. This has been very observed. The evidence for evolution is absolutely overwhelming. Okay, it's just you people don't want to accept that you're just an animal, and that's your pride and incredulity talking, not rationality. So yes, we have. There's plenty of evolution for that, or evidence for that. In some ways, we talk about political cults, Kyle. I mean, I can talk about cultic behavior in political movements. Okay, like if you follow a leader to the point that no matter what evidence comes out about their behavior, you still follow that leader, I'd say you're engaged in cultic like activity with that leader. I mean, I when I grab my theology degree and my political science degree and I look at them both, there's a lot of overlap, particularly when you talk about theology. You miss the excitement? Not really, just a typical creationist spouting nonsense. So that obviously doesn't understand evolution, even in the most basic form. So this creationist talking point. Directly ask, where is the evidence for those miracles? Yes, I too want to ask that question. Okay, so where's your evidence that all these miracles of creation? Like, how is it possible that God can say, let there be light, and it just appears out of nothing? Can you give me the mechanism for that miracle? And it's like, let's assume that your critique of evolution is true. It doesn't prove your shit at all. Okay, you haven't done one iota to prove anything. So, yes, he was very honest. He considered, chapter 6 problems with the theory. Yes, but he also offered up solutions. And this is the one thing creationists never put out, is that he offered up solutions. Okay. Now, some of those solutions have been validated and others have been dismissed, but other solutions have come by. The one thing for sure is we haven't needed a God to explain this anymore. And that's the thing. Yes, I don't mind it being improved on. There's things that, prove on the Bible. What a great. We took out some trash too, Earl. It's okay. Were you there when the Bible was written? Were you there when creation happened? Do you have pictures? Do you have evidence? Yeah. So there you go. But yes. All right. Let's see if he fit. But I'm not convinced here because he's trying to make atheism into a religion, and I'm going to probably have a problem with that.
Another way of contending with reality. It can mean a strong commitment to a particular kind of ethical thinking and behavior without the looming judgment of a god to enforce it. It can also mean simply having too much going on to think about religion, or believing that the only things that matter are the things we can measure scientifically. Atheism defies broad brush painting. But perhaps the biggest hallmark of atheism is that it has always existed alongside theism. It's not a reaction to, but a complement of the religious frameworks that guide many lives. Whether it can be called a religion is up for debate. I think it boils.
I don't think it's actually that debatable. I don't think it's a religion because we have pretty solid definitions of what a religion is, and atheism doesn't fit it. Okay, it doesn't, basically say, I'm sorry, I don't believe in your gods. And you can be a hard, soft atheist. You can be, but bottom line, that's what you got. That can influence a lot of things in a worldview, but it can't be a world. I mean, if we're going to sit there and say common philosophy makes a religion, I would reject that because I'm a Stoic, but I don't consider Stoicism a religion. It's a philosophy of life. So I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to appease a few people here, but he probably should just not. Okay, he's just not. So nobody tries to improve the Bible. You can't do it. It's God's word, and it's immutable. It's true, absolutely true and immutable. Just ask anybody that's a Christian. Except for those fundamental, the fundamentalist Christian will absolutely tell you that. So, yeah, it's kind of an odd ending. I agree with you, Blossom. I kind of like this video, but I don't know what he's doing here. Like, he hems and haws about the definition of religion, but it's like, to me, if you take, the most basic understanding of what a religion is, atheism ain't that. Okay, so it just isn't.
Down to whether you see religion primarily as whatever lenses through which you consider moral imperatives and ultimate concerns.
Except then you've made every political viewpoint, every moral philosophy, even secular ones. If you make it that broad, then a whole bunch of shit qualifies as a religion that we wouldn't qualify as a religion. So it's like, if you're going to make it, I always love it when people want to make the definitions broad so anything fits, because then the definition just basically becomes meaningless.
In which case atheism is perhaps, at least for some, a religion, or whether you see religion primarily as a way of seeking connection to and understanding of the less empirical parts of consciousness, in which case atheism is a rejection of religion and best considered outside of it. And if you think I'm going to come to a firm conclusion here, you haven't been watching the rest of this series.
Okay, in other words, you're going to be... See, I'll do the brave part for you. No, it's not a religion. Under any basic common parlance definition, atheism doesn't fit a religion. There's no belief in a supernatural deity. There's no religious rituals. There's none of that. There's just I hear your claims about God, and then I say, screw you. No, I'm not. I don't say screw you. I just like, you don't have any evidence for that. I don't believe it. Okay, and so it doesn't fit a much more common parlance definition of religion, and so it's not to me. I just don't, there's a lot of things that I've added to other things outside my atheism that guide my moral philosophy, like my stoicism. I can talk stoicism with people that believe and don't believe. Okay. I have a very minimalist philosophy about owning stuff. Doesn't have much to do with my atheism. Okay. It's more of a practical concern and also a rejection of consumerism. So it's like, there's a whole bunch of things that are in my worldview that don't necessarily fit within, I don't believe in God. And so I just don't see it as religious. So yeah, he's kind of fence sitting, Kyle. I get it. But I would probably have to look at his first video on where he tries to define religion, and basically he's going to backpedal off a hard definition, basically so he can constantly fence sit on whether the religion is true or not. Like, I could see him doing different religions, and because of his definition of religion, he can talk about the value of that religion and the downsides of that religion and all that other stuff, but he's not going to make anything definitive. So, but yeah, I can see what he's doing.
Next time, we're talking about religious texts. Who wrote them? Who's equipped?
Okay, that's the end of that video. So but yeah, I don't know. Final review. I love the first part of the video where he at least is honest about what atheism is. Like, we're not, he makes the point to say, hey, we're not morally corrupt. We're not dangerous. He references a lot of, historical atheists and different people that were practitioners of deism, things like that, and kind of enters that fray. So it's the first half of the video, probably the first 3/4 of the video I was with him. It's when we started to address the actual question, is atheism a religion? All of a sudden he goes into this mode of depends on how you define religion. And it gives me a bunch of religious definitions that I wouldn't accept, about religion. Like, if that's your definition of religion, there's a hell of a lot of things that qualify as a religion. So it's like, it's not helpful at that point. So yeah, it's interesting. I guess I'd look at the one about the religious text might be interesting. I may have to look at that one later. An atheist evaluates churches going into it as blind as possible, like the first, but ultimately I think all it does is legitimize a more dangerous sects of Christianity. I don't know, guys. They seem pretty nice to me. Of course they do. They're a cult. They want to roll people in. Yes, I think I've seen people do that. I would have a very different, if I could get over my religious trauma and my PTSD about being threatened inside of church buildings, I would do that shit. But I can see, as a former minister and somebody who now sees the dangers of religion, I would go in there and say, yeah, of course they're love bombing. Indoctrination doesn't have to be through fear. It can be done other ways. So, you can love people into your cult as much as you can cause them to be afraid. And so it's like, but it's the other viewpoints that bother me. Like you, Blossom, I do wonder about, they seem to be nice people and we're trying to build bridges. And I'm always about building bridges of dialogue, but it doesn't mean I'm going to say that your viewpoints are good. Like, fundamentalist Christians, they're dangerous. I'm sorry, they are. Okay. And I'm always going to say that they're dangerous because I used to be part of that crowd. There's a legitimate harm that they do in everyday life if you become a fundamentalist Christian. Okay, you're denying yourself a lot of opportunities. You believe stuff that's nonsense. It's like it's you like heliocentric. Yes, you like heliocentric. There you go. I mean, the sun, at least, is a deity you can see, as George Carlin said. Kind of, when I can see something, it kind of moves the credibility along a little bit. But yeah, I think, is everything loose with belief? Like, there's some hardcore beliefs out there, so I'm not sure everything is loose. Yeah, they invent a God to suit themselves, but if you're an asshole, you'll invent an asshole God. Like, you will do that. So yes, Joe Pesci. But yes, I mean, there's the problem with deities. Okay. And I think this is essential for religion to have a deity of some sort, and if it has a deity and it has a liturgy, yeah, you got a religion. If you got dogma and practices, you got a religion. And sure, there's atheists that meet for church, but that's a real small percentage of atheists. And just because they have common practice doesn't make it a religion. That doesn't make it particularly a liturgy. There's specific definitions of what a liturgy is, what doctrines and dogma are. Um, and those definitions have broadened out a bit. But I don't know. I kind of liked the video in the fact that he presented atheism in a very positive light, but I think when it came to defining it as a religion, he just really hemmed and hawed about it and didn't want to come down one way or the other. And he's including it in a series about religions, Crash Course on Religion, and so he's got to be vague in order to include that. Otherwise, you shouldn't be including atheism in that. Okay. Unless you want to count it as a critique at the end of the series, so to speak. So, BS, the thing about it with old hymns, gosh, what was it the other day? Oh, gosh, I wish I could remember the hymn I was singing, but I was changing the words. So, I still think you're right. I think a lot of people do think of atheism as religion. I always ask them to prove that. Give me a definition of religion, and then give me a definition of atheism and see, number one, if these definitions are accurate, and two, if they equal each other. And I'm not really sure that you ever get that. So, yeah, I think he could have done that, just excluded it, not done it. Honestly, if he had just left it out, I don't think anybody would have been upset about it. He could have done another series on like what is atheism and really focused on some of it. Once again, I think it'd be a real short series, but there is very little common belief in atheism. Like politically, we're all over the place. Philosophically, we're all over the place. It's just, I get together with my atheist brothers and sisters, and we don't have a lot to say other than we don't believe in God. And that's pretty much where it stops. Okay, so what that does to the rest of your worldview is usually so varied, it's ridiculous. So, as a pursuit of interest followed by great devotion, which can be, this is not relevant really in this discussion. It's not what apologists are suggesting. No, it isn't. Very good observation, Fred. I think he should have done atheism as part of the crash course. He could have done that. I don't know. See, because you could say it's a philosophical system that would get rid of God from moral discussions. Yeah, it can be applied in philosophy. I think it's like, I'm not going to look at, like, if you look at moral philosophy, you can say atheists ditch the idea of divine command theory and are in favor of other theories of morality. You could definitely do that. And I think it would have been better there, but I think most people think of atheism in the context of religion. And so that's why I put it there. I get it. There's this fine line with, I got to write good crap to get people to watch my channel and trying to be accurate. So, yeah, it'd be like 1 minute long. I can see what you're saying. Yeah, it should be really. Non-bro. Yeah. If you had a crash course on hobbies, I'm not sure, non-stamp collecting is a hobby. So, is non-stamp collecting a hobby? Is kind of a similar question here. So I don't know. I love the fact that he was pretty honest about atheism. I love the fact that he nailed Pascal's wager pretty hard, like it should be nailed. He did a lot of good things in this video, and so kudos. But it's like, you're not giving me your definition of religion. And he openly admits in his first video, he tried to define religion, but couldn't do it. And it's like, oh, you could have done it. You just didn't want to. And if you had, you would have applied that definition of religion to atheism, and you would say, well, I guess they don't line up. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we could go over 30 minutes to over the famous people in history who didn't collect stamps. So, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that. I mean, when you're an atheist, it's like, I just don't believe your bullshit. Okay, I just don't. Do you have evidence for that? Do you have proof for that? And it was when I was a Christian, this was the thing that atheism dogged me with, was coming up with evidence for my beliefs. And I'd get to a certain point and say, well, you know what? I just don't have evidence for that. And that happened enough times where it's like, I don't believe this crap. And the problem I had was the emotional attachment. You know, what do you do with your career? What do you do with your family? What do you do with, these emotional beliefs that keep you in effect? So Jesus didn't collect stamps either. What would Jesus do? How long have stamps been around? Does anybody know? Rail disciples. There we go. Rail disciples. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I do come back to this quote, this question by Blossom. Is it more in philosophy? The problem with atheism is it almost stands by itself. It deals with religion. It deals with philosophy. It kind of hits them both, but there's really, if you're a hard atheist, there's a claim in it. Like God does not exist is a full-fledged out claim that you need to provide evidence for. But you can say, I just don't believe in any claims that have been given to me about a God so far. And it can affect your worldview in some small ways. Like, you're not going to consider a God when you talk about morality. You're not going to consider a God with how you view the world. You might take a more materialistic, secular approach to life because you just don't have God as part of it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that no God governs everything you do. And I think that's the problem. So, I don't know. It was a good video, and probably 80% of it. So, and I didn't have a lot of problems with it. It was the ending that was kind of wishy-washy to me. It's like, dude, if we define religion that way, I don't know. You know, there's a lot more things that qualify that I wouldn't consider to be religions. So, it's like, yeah, I've heard these arguments before, so to speak. So, let's see. Do we have I don't think I had anything to cry about with it. I didn't see him crying. I didn't see there's any W2F moments. The only or for Fang's sake moment, I think, was the end. So, yeah, it's just appealing to authority. And I'm not sure appeals to authority are good ways to do morality anymore, because the authorities always seem to have ulterior motives for their morality. Well, see, here's the thing about the top hat. I've gotten 0 super chats tonight, 0 donated memberships. And actually, like, memberships is something I need because we're about to lose some emojis. So that's the donated memberships would actually count, and they would go a long way to keeping those emojis active. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I've received nothing. So no hats, which is good for me because I don't necessarily. Yeah, in this particular case, Elizabeth, he was all right. I think he got wishy-washy at the end about whether to say atheism was a religion or not. It's like, it doesn't have any aspects of a religion, but he was very positive about it. He said a couple things are stereotypical, like atheists are dangerous or atheists don't have morality. That's stereotypically wrong. So I gave him I don't know. I give him a B plus. It was just the ending where he wouldn't draw any conclusions, which I've seen out of a lot of content creators when they talk about this subject. So there's that. All right. Let's see. Is there any channel news to go over? Me and the lovely Earl are kind of in a discussion about Merck, so you may someday be able to get the lovely Fangs on something. Rabyd Atheist on something, but we're kind of doing our research at that point. So, but yes, I would, getting this on a T-shirt might be something good for my spirits. So we're working on that. I'm looking at my life right now. If any of you follow my blog, The Gray Wayfarer, I've been doing a hard reset on who the hell am I trying to be kind of thing. So the one thing you should know that the live streams on YouTube aren't going away. It's definitely part of my life. It's just, and I'm not deep diving it that big anyway. I'm just trying to what is my personal purpose at this point. So kind of enjoyed that part of it. So, and I'm getting back to basics. So, and let's see, update on my health. Some of you just came into chat. My teeth are feeling better. I've got some more work to do on them. I had one pulled a couple weeks ago that was giving me problems, but thanks to the lovely Earl again, I have a way of doing medication that seems to be working really, really well. So that's been happening. A lot of things going on in my life. Trying to get a hold of everything and refocus and do it despite my hypersensitive heat and light right now. So trying not to push myself too much. So thanks to everybody for their concerns. Appreciate that. I don't know. Trying to work on a few other things, but that's kind of it for tonight, folks. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hope we enjoyed. If you didn't come in time, you can always go and restart this and watch it from the beginning. So, but yeah, I think I would give the guy a B plus for all the good things he did, but then the ending the conclusion kind of lost me because it, he just, that's where it is. But yeah, definitely worth checking out some of the rest of his stuff. I'll have to look at what he says about religious texts, and I may go back to his first video in the series and what he says about religion. So you're trying to finish something really quick. Okay, I tell you what, I will hold on for just a little bit longer. Keep talking. I got to keep talking now. Damn it. I can tell you one thing I do want to do. Here, hold on. I have been meaning to do this for a bit. Hold on. But some of you know that Earl, Amber is facing some life stuff, and I want to put a link to her GoFundMe in the chat. She's facing the actual Grim Reaper, and she's going to have some medical bills for that. And regardless of how you feel about her, here's somebody that I know, I care about, and I'm going to put her link to her GoFundMe in chat and go over there. And if you can help her, I think she's reached 5% of her goal to take care of her medical bills, but she's actually facing a life-threatening problem. And so it's definitely something that you want to consider. So would very much risk if I had no Rabyd Atheist in chat. Thanks. I appreciate you, Fred, as always. Yeah, we're going to keep going with this stuff. This has become, for me as well, this is like my socialization for the week, which is kind of a sad thing to admit, but there you go. But yes, I do want to thank you and acknowledge you for that. Yeah, because we are just we're doing very well as a channel. It's very stable right now. My biggest goal now is to kind of grow things again, and to do that, I've got to figure out a way to do videos, do them quickly, probably come up with a better method of doing them, and then maybe letting AI do a little of my editing for me, cut some stuff out that I don't need. So Misfits of YouTube, yes, we are, and so I appreciate that moniker. The Isle of Misfit Toys fits us. I've always kind of attracted those kinds of people, so I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I am doing a great job on my own, but I also have a lot of people to give credit to, like Earl. I mean, I know she's working on some artwork that she wants to display before we shut down, but I got to give a shout out to Earl for all her artwork, for all the stuff that she does. A lot of you don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and there's been a couple of times where Earl has kind of swooped in and helped me get through some rough times on other things too. Her recent advice about pain medication and dealing with all my oral issues with my teeth has been very well done. She understands and doesn't do that. She's autistic too, and so when we have conversations, she's already putting that stuff in, and I'm talking her up a lot because her and Asho have been good friends, and a lot of you have been great in the chat too. So all joking aside, this is a great community. I really love you guys. And it's just kept me going on a couple of occasions. This community has kind of been the thing that it's the one thing I was really missing after I left the church was a good sense of community, and the live streaming has brought that back to me. So it's just been great. It's just been great. And as a fellow creative trickster misfits, me and Earl have gotten well together, and she's been kind of the backbone of a lot of the art on here, and so yeah, it's just that way. So I've appreciated her. I've appreciated Asho for sticking with me through many different times, through good times and bad. So he's been a member of this channel for a long time. Some of you have been members for a long time, and I really do appreciate that. So Martin noticed your comment. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, Martin. I appreciate that. It's like, I think when you leave the church, Martin, it's the biggest thing you miss is people. And I'm autistic and I don't miss people that much. But I used to have this like regulated time every week as a pastor where I'd get with my people and, laugh with each other, make jokes about each other. We have that here. Okay. And I've kind of replaced that with you guys. And I've been very, very appreciative of that because it just makes life so much easier. So, but yes. Yeah, there's a lot of things coming. I think the biggest discussion right now, guys, is me and Earl are talking what to do with the artwork. And I know some of you expressed interest in getting some of the artwork on t-shirts and mugs and stuff. And, I had the idea of, given the nature of the Mormon underwear, I thought we could do better. So there's that. So there's there's a lot of things that we're doing. I'm simply trying to come up with a way of making videos quicker so they don't take up so much of my time. So Going to spend my life. I'm just going to die. That's probably where they'll bury me. Okay. Yeah, that might or may not be John Cougar Milligan. There's that. Hey, thanks, Martin. I appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot. I also appreciate your work as moderator. To my mods, yeah, good work, guys. I can appreciate some theists being willing to wait 5 minutes before they make nonsensical comments. That shows a little bit of dedication, but it's like I don't want to deal with somebody that's clearly not here to discuss anything. So, finally work again. There you go. Martin. I'm glad for you. Like, I'm glad you're working again. As much as I don't always like my job, it does give me a sense of purpose to go there every time I go. I got a 3-day weekend this weekend out of choice, but it was more my health than anything else. Funny thing that happened after Thursday's stream, I got off air and talked to Earl for a little bit about some of the things we wanted to talk about. And I said, man, I'm really tired. I'm going to lay down. It's like, I can't remember. It's like 9:00 at night. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to lay down for 30 minutes, feel better. Yeah, 4:00 in the morning later. And then, it's my jaw. My jaw wants to heal. And to do that, it's got to shut down. So it's been kind of fun. So, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's been interesting. I've definitely had a interesting life here these last year and a half or so, being here and starting to do stuff. So yeah. Yeah, 4:00 in the morning later. I laid down at 9:00, did not wake up, did not stir for 7 hours. And when I woke up, my whole jaw area did feel better, like it healed up. And I think that was just my body taking over and saying, yeah, you need to lay down and not do stuff for a while. So, you need to sleep. And yes, sleep is good. This is your desktop background. Mom will love that. Earl loves that stuff. Young. Yeah, I know. I'm so young. Oh my gosh. It just, I hate being unhealthy right now. I just don't like it. It becomes a more common occurrence the older I get. I've always been in pretty good health, so it's like these little annoyances just start to get to me after a while. So, yeah. I don't know. What do we got here? Trying to check on Earl here. Oh, nothing yet. So I got to keep talking. Do I have to keep talking, Earl? Are you still listening? Almost there. Okay. All right. Any questions so far this evening? Do you think, are we being too harsh in saying that the automatic answer to is atheism a religion? The quick answer is no. Do I think I'm being unreasonable, but just quickly answering no? Yeah, reality does have a tendency to kick me in the ass, though. I wish it was gentler. I do need to get back to working out, though. I just have to do that at home. I've been this tooth thing and a few other things, and let's see what else is going on in the life of the Rabyd Atheist. I was just, getting my car fixed, getting my teeth fixed. I got my eye exam coming up next month. And my freezer in the apartment is pretty much dying. It's almost dead. So I informed my landlord of that, but I also ordered a smaller fridge because regular fridges, I literally only take up a third of them. So, and I want a smaller one. I can slap my microwave on top of it. And I don't know what his feelings are about that, but so far the rent can't be beat. So I'm sticking around. So there's that. Yeah, so that's my reality. Could sell my voice for those hottie phone thingies. What are we talking about here, Martin? Sell my voice? Getting older ain't for wussies. Yes, I don't have a heart issue, but I've always been into like preventative stuff here. Uh, I don't. I've always loved lifting, but I've also realized I can't lift heavy anymore. I kind of realized that when I didn't necessarily like burn out my joints, but one day I was lifting pretty heavy and I got done and it was like, that hurts a lot. I didn't actually pull anything or dislocate anything or anything, but it's like, you're kind of pushing that shit. Maybe you need to back off. And for the next 5-10 years, I've been medium weights, and now I'm ready to like do something lighter with a lot more reps. So. Reasonable answer to that question. You can redefine it in matches, but it's not a religion in comparison to theism. Yes. Oh, just came to you, huh? Yeah, heart attacks. I haven't had one of those yet. Last time I got examined by a doctor, he actually said my heart was really strong, good solid beats. So that may not be my problem. I may have other problems, but not that one right now. Plenty of atheists are in hospitals? No way. I have been told that when you have a deadly disease, you'll instantly turn back to God. Is that true? I mean, I've literally had 2 very close to death experiences as far as accidents, like hitting my deer. That could have been a lot worse. And the other day, I was driving and somebody nearly sideswiped me that was much, much bigger than my car. And, none of this has caused me to repent and go back to Jesus. I don't know why that is. And Jesus is trying to kill me to make a point. He's not a really good friend. So, well, a friend we have in Jesus who's trying to kill me. Heart valve surgery to replace. Okay. Still an atheist, huh? All right. I've just always heard from theists there's no atheists in foxholes. And I think that that's bullshit, because I think there's been plenty of atheists in foxholes who are thinking to themselves, if this is what God is doing, I'm not a fan. What am I doing that for? I don't know. I've never bought it. Never bought it. These make me produce too much bad cholesterol. I also smoked. Risk factors. They found a tumor on my heart. Well, there you go. So other bullshit happening. Outstanding. See, now you've got me thinking. You got me thinking. Oh, man. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, they're in foxholes a few lines further on. There you go. See, you have people with heart surgeries that are still atheists. So they checked it. Yeah, I mean, Fred is making a good observation here, Mark. Yeah, toothaches aren't that bad, except they hurt. I don't know. I mean, I've never had a heart attack, so I don't know. But I don't know. Sharp pain doesn't bother me near as much as that constant throbbing, aching bullshit. So, Ronald, I have to agree with you. Somebody asked me, don't you miss the eternal life stuff? And I'm like, nope. Oblivion looks better all the time. There's a point where you just want this stuff to end. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, all right. I see it. Earl. Hold on. Giving it a name. And we're going to pull this up. All right, what do we got here? For those of you that have stuck around, waited patiently. Thanks, Kevin. This is spur of the moment art from I Killed Earl. So there you go. Spur of the moment art. So the answer to Fangs not having opposable thumbs is just to morph them into existence. Fair enough. Perfectly reasonable superpower by a god that can transform themselves at will. I love the axe. And we obviously there's definitely some cranky older god in this moment too with the tentacles. So there's good. Wow. This is good stuff for spur of the moment. I'll give you credit for that. I kind of like it. Lightning, definitely there. Finger pointing god. Thor's banhammer. Yeah, there we go. Don't ask me. There you go. You had to add cranky. Okay. Okay. So cranky has been added to this. I'm keeping this one too. I'm not sure what to title it yet, but we'll figure it out. Let me simmer on it, and I'll come up with a title for sure. Yes, Fang's wrench is an axe. Like it morphs into whatever it wants to be. Religion is an octopus. Yeah, and for spur of the moment art, I got to give it an awesome rating. This is good stuff. I kind of like it. Yes, let the interpretation commence. Yeah, you see a fuck up already? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's spur of the moment art, Earl. We'll leave it. It's a happy little accident. So there you go. It's a happy little accident, whatever it is. Fangs toothache? That could be. I don't know. Will you fix it? Okay, so the new one has the lack of it. Okay. So here, let me resave the new one, and we'll see if the fans of the channel who have stuck around can notice the difference. We'll remove that one. And put in the new one. There we go. Yes, it will be canon. It always is. For Fang's sake. It's a fangs up, not a fuck up. So. Oh, yes, it's making him crazy. I don't know. We pray to deities, but sometimes you have to pray for deities. You guys need to keep Fangs in your prayers because he does like eat a lot of religious corruption every day. So there's a lot of bullshit out there. So maybe comparison. Sorry, you couldn't see the difference either. Okay. I think probably with Earl, it's always like something is laying on top of something that shouldn't be doing it. So, I mean, I can look at both of them. Yeah, it's a sizing thing more than anything else. Cleaned it up a little bit. I see what you did, but it's subtle stuff. It's closing your eyes and hoping for the best. We all do that, Earl. We all do it. We all do it. So, yeah, this is good stuff for spur of the moment art, Earl. First prize. First prize. I mean, we Fangs now. It's official doctrine that he has opposable thumbs. So we got that. Oh, there. Special bonus for those of you that hunt around a little bit longer. Got to make that official canon. So Fangs does indeed have opposable thumbs, so they can wield both band hammer and axe as they see fit to do. So there you go. He can make his fangs any size he wants them to be. So there's that. That's too much wasted talent in dentistry. You might have a valid point there, Michael. Oh, the dentists wasting perfectly good artists. Oh my goodness. Oh. You want Fang's tarot cards? Oh man, that is a good idea. That would be interesting because, see, I don't know, I've never read anybody's tarot before, but it can't be that hard. Just flip over cards and make shit up. I mean, I don't. There you go. All right, metal and an ironing storm. There you go. Yeah, see, Cranky does stuff like that, though. Cranky is cranky. He genuinely is a cranky elder god. I appreciate him. And we got some other god with a zappy pointy finger. So, Earl beyond price. There we go. You want a Fangs hoodie and coffee mug? We are working on that, Kevin. We are. We will see what happens. But yes, we will definitely see what happens there. Oh, really? Cranky is saving Fangs? Okay, I could see. The thing is, Cranky, as an older god, probably 99.9% of the time doesn't give a shit. So, 3D artist in the U.S. that's a dentist now. Yeah, there you go. So it's both, dentistry and art. Has anybody done a book or a study? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know now. But yeah, this is great stuff, Earl. I'm for spur of the moment stuff, definitely. Yeah, he has a baby deity, so still learning the ropes. Not too old. I mean, he's a time traveling god, so been in other places, but still very young. Learning that sometimes it's better to leave things the hell alone. Yeah, it's definitely Fangs' learning curve right now. All right, well, thanks. Thanks. But, I had to make some definitive statements about Fangs, so the hat came out. Had to. So, has to do it. You want to know how that deals with trolls? I know I just gave Fangs the band hammer my wrench, so I'm not sure how Fangs deals with trolls yet. Cranky, I don't know. I think Cranky has resisted doing much. I don't know. I don't see. The problem is, Michael, I don't really know who times people out. It doesn't tell me, but I know that, like, if I were to to register a guess, it would probably be what Earl just said, which is swiftly. So, yes, when to smite is personal. So, but yes, I obviously, I think with trolls, we've had pretty effective dealing with trolls. So, with lightning bunny speed, yes, there you go. So if you see Fangs, the moderator Fangs in chat, know that you do not. There's not a lot of patience there. Fangs doesn't like to put up with religious bullshit. So, and vegetables are people. So, yes, at that point, yes. If Fangs does it, it's divine intervention. So there you go. Another official statement. If Fangs bans you from the channel, it's divine intervention. Or we can do that too. Yeah. So I need to take the hat off before I speak into existence other things. So, and besides, I think we're getting, we got to the pole milestone. Hey, the top hat one with the red band. Let's see what we got here. 42% for that, 33% for the fedora, 70. And Newsboy only got 8. Last time it kind of kicked ass, and this time not so much. All right. So the hat that was earned. So there we go. I could live with top hats all day. So I have the bunny hat is a top hat. It's a top hat. And I have another one coming for a hat reveal. So it'll be here next week sometime. So there'll be another top hat. So well, there you go. Stay on a little bit longer so everybody can enjoy the top hat. This is the one with the red band, and there's a feather over here that's red. Yeah, it's a good top hat. And with all the bands I have now, I can readjust it, redo it. So I kind of like that. So, and the pole. So that's kind of 41, 33, 16, and 8. So top hat won by almost 8, about 8%. So there you go. Top hat hasn't won often, but every once in a while. So there you go. Yes, this is one of the better. Check my messages. Oh, look at you. Okay, so I have to rename this one a little bit because it's a different picture. And And Earl, you are on this stuff. On it. But here's the unholy trinity with the hat already. Outstanding work. I actually do not have that version. I have, hold on. I have the version of the unholy trinity that I have is this one with a black. Okay, so it's got a black band with black. That's the one I have. And then you just changed it with the red. So outstanding. So, but yes, there you go. The unholy trinity rides again with a different hat band. See, I don't know. Ever since the night elf thing has been mentioned to me, I've always felt the night elves need top hats. So I'm not sure fedoras work for them. It does, but it doesn't, so to speak. And there's a lot of small detail work in this one. I'm going to have to go back. Oh, yeah, you've cleaned that one up quite a bit. Little details here and there. Not bad, Earl. Not bad at all. Many head pads. Let's see what else. Yeah, the eyes are different too. Your hair is different. Yeah, definitely darker. A lot of good definition there. So there you go. I don't know. It's good. It's good. I think it might just be the coloring, but yeah. But I'm looking them back and forth, and yeah, definitely colorful. Oh, you have some more new brushes. Okay, cool. But yeah, this is definitely some improvements. Yeah, I think it would. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of details that have been changed. So yeah, I like it. I mean, it's still the unholy trinity. We'll call it version 2. So there you go. So yeah, good stuff. And then we got Fangs with an Axe tonight. Brand new stuff. Whole bunch of other things. So well done, Earl. You want to get that one put on canvas? Yeah, honestly, it would look nice. I want the tattoos touched up. I see, because that's the first thing I did, Earl, was go back and forth between these two to check the tattoos. But other than they seem to be a little clearer, they're not that different. But yeah, there you go. I like this one. I always have liked this one. I know that it started out as an AI one, and you've just been tweaking with it. So kind of like it. But yes, I would definitely, if you're going to work on the tattoos, there you go. But yes, honestly, I mean, I'm happy to be the night elf with the top hat. That just works for me. So, yeah, really good stuff, Earl. As always. Well, once you clean things up, it looks even better. I think that's kind of the thing I look at artwork now is like when people, it was good before, it just gets better. So, so you want on the one arm them to mimic real life, which is, as I recall, one side for you is colored and the other is black and white. So there you go. Yeah, fixing that would be good. Outstanding. But I think we'll keep the red hat band and red feather and the blue eyes. I think that makes it pop out. Yep. Yeah, okay, I was right. Yeah, great stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah. Enjoying it. But yeah, I'm happy for artists these days because you can make a piece of art and then it's good, but you can go back and improve it and tweak it and make multiple versions, and so much easier than back in the day. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, the shading on it to get that right shininess with the hat to make the hat look round. I can see what that is would be a bear. But yeah, Unholy Trinity version 2. So there you go. So, but yeah, folks, I'm going to call it a night. I think my painkillers, which I took 5 hours ago, are starting to wear off. So I want to get back into getting some into my system and getting something to eat and enjoying a night off before I go back to work. So, yeah, that's what I thought. Smudge feature. Definitely would love that. So I do that with pencil when I do art with pencil, but I haven't done artwork in a long time. So yeah, I'm gonna call it a night, Martin. Call it a night with everybody. But thank you very much, Earl, for the new stuff. I think you're probably going to take this spur of the moment one and probably do it up even more. So that'd be great. So, it was worth it. I try to have patience with everybody, but I love your art. So, and I can stall. I can stall. So everybody have a good time. May Fangs bless you all. I appreciate all of you for coming out tonight. Just a good time had by all. And I'm fairly certain atheism isn't a religion. So at least that's me. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate all of you. May Fangs nibble at all of your hearts. And he's nibbling sharper and delirious from corrupt vegetables. So let him nibble on your heart and give you everlasting whiskers or wisdom. Thank you. Thank you all for everybody. Make sure you push the like button before you leave. I appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And thank you for enjoying this production of The Rabid Atheist. So we thank you for that. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So you want to take all your time, your opportunities, your money, and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. Don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all next time on Tuesday's Rapid Fire.